Hi, and welcome to the channel. Today, we're going to work on changing this Free Code Camp homepage design from this to this. And the reason we're doing that is because I'm making a video for Free Code Camp on feature toggling, and I need a feature to kind of illustrate the point of feature toggling and how, you can use the different mechanisms to turn things off and on and how it's useful. So we need a feature to be able to illustrate that. So we're going to implement this in this video because it's interesting to see how this is made. And then if you're interested in feature toggling, then keep watching on the Free Code Camp channel because there's going to be a video there soon on how to do feature toggling. All right. So without further ado, let's just get started. All right. So let's take a look at the setup. I haven't done much yet, but I do have the Free Code Camp website and code running locally on my machine. So if I open up VS Code, then you can see I have the code in front of me here, and everything we need to edit and work with is here. So what I've done is inside of the source folder, I've taken a lot of the images and assets from Figma and just put them in this folder here so we can get them when we need to. Now, this application is written in React, and that suits me pretty good because I'm quite familiar with React. So let's just take a look at what the website looks like currently. So we have a global navigation up top, and then we have this section here, which is the one we are going to work on changing a little bit. So if we head back to the code, what I want to do is I want to find the header component because I've done a little bit of digging, and I know that the header component has the global navigation. So it's called universal nav, and it's right here. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and comment that out and hit save. And I do have it running here, so when I do hit save, it's gonna rebuild and update the browser. So if we just wait for it to finish, head back to the browser, then we should be able to see this navigation go away. So now we don't have it anymore, which is what we want for now. So next up, we are going to locate the landing page component. So it's this component right here in the landing folder with index.js. And you can see it implements different components. So we have landing top, we have as seen in, we have testimonial, and we have certifications. And all of those are going to correspond to a section here. So we have the as seen in component here. And this is the testimonials component. And then we have the certifications in the bottom here. So we're not going to work on all of them. We're just going to work on this top component here just to get something working. So what I'll do is I'll head over to the code again, and we'll create a new component here, and we'll call it landing top. And for now, we'll just call it v2. All right, so we have our component file now, and we need to create a basic component. And since I'm in a repository where I haven't worked before, I like to look at the other components just to see what kind of conventions they're following. Are there any special components that they're using? Is it something I need to be aware of, or should I follow the same conventions? Usually, you want to kind of have a consistency in how things are done. So I'm gonna copy the code from landing top. I'm gonna paste it in here, and I'm gonna remove anything I don't need. So for now, anything inside of the call here, I'm gonna make it full width, which should be 12. And we are going to put a h1 here, and we'll say hello world. Oops. And we'll remove anything that's not necessary for now. We can always add that back later. So go ahead and remove this, and this, and we'll call it landing top v2. And what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and import it inside of our main index.js file. So on top of our other component, we'll do grid landing top v2 and auto import that. So now we have our landing top v2 here, and we have it here. So if we hit save now, we should be able to rebuild our application. And once it's done, we'll head over to the browser and we have the hello world here. All right, so what I like to do is I like to build out the skeleton of the design first. So what I want to do is I want to have the full width and full height background. So I want to get the background color in place, and then I get started on the header here. So let's get started on that. So first we'll head back to the browser and we'll just take a look at the structure here. So let's see what we have. If we inspect this element and we increase this, we just go to elements here. So we have this h1, and that's inside a column, which is offset, which I might not want, but fine for now. And it's inside landing top, which is inside a container, which is inside landing page. And you can also see we have some default layout here, and we need to go ahead and take care of that as well. Okay. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and find the default layout. So let's go ahead and search for default layout. And there we have it in global CSS. So it has a margin, and that's to offset the header that we've commented out. So I'll go ahead and comment this out for now as well. And hit save on that. That should remove the top padding. So now I want to go ahead and check out the index.js in the landing page again. And here we have the landing page. Just gonna have to look at the styling of that as well. So thing page 100% margin bottom. Doesn't look like it has anything special. Let's go back to the browser. Just check here the container. Here's the landing page. So what I want to do is inside of index.js, before we add the grid, we want to add a div, and we'll give that a class name of landing page new hero, just because it's a common terminology for, you know, the main page or the hero image. And then what I'll do is I'll go to landing. I'll actually save that first. And I'll go here and I'll say height of this is going to be 100 VH, so the entire viewport height. And then the background, background color is going to be a linear gradient. And it's going to be, yeah, to bottom. And I just want to go ahead and swap out these values with whatever is in Figma. So I'll head back to the browser for a second and go to Figma. And we'll grab the first color here. And we'll paste that in. And then we'll grab the second color and we'll set that as the to value and make sure it's a hex and not a dollar sign. So now if we go back to our browser, it's going to take a second to update. And if we did everything correctly, we should be able to have a background color on this. And it looks like I made a mistake. Invalid property value. So linear gradient to bottom. Search that up. Sometimes, you know, it's when you don't do certain things for a while, or you use other tools. Like I've been using Material for a while, and it's a completely different way because you specify everything in JS, which has a different syntax. So here, let's see, linear gradient, and it's not background color, it's background. So if we save on that, now linear gradient should go ahead and start working for us. So hopefully that's going to fix the problem. And head back to our application. It's going to take a second to update, but once it does, we have our background color. So that's a good start. Next up, we'll go ahead and get started on the... All right, so this here is our canvas. Here is where we're going to work, and we're going to draw in the components that we need. Let's take a look at Figma for a second, and we can see we have a header section up here. That's what we're going to make first. Then we have a middle section with the call to action and the certificate mockup. And then we have the graduate section with the company logos at the bottom. So we're going to go and do this piece by piece, and we'll get started on the header. So this is where we left off, and I'll go ahead and jump back into the code now. So what we want to do is we want to go to landing top. Let's go ahead and remove the offset here, just because we want it to be, we want equal amounts of padding on each side. And we are going to implement the header, and I think we'll do it inline first, but I think we might want to move it into a separate component. So we'll create the div with the class landing top v2 header. And now we also need to get the logo, so we'll do import FCC logo from the assets folder. So I think it might be one more down. And images, landing, and it's going to be FCC logo. And what we'll do, I noticed in one of the other ones, we have this image loader. So we're gonna go ahead and implement the image loader as well. So we'll go ahead and check where it's imported from, and it's from a helpers file. We can just grab this because we're in the same level. So we can go ahead and do this. That's going to give us the image loader. And I want to place it in a span because I want to have the, let's see, free code camp text here. And then we'll do image loader source FCC logo and hit save on that. So let's go ahead and take a look. It updates. It sometimes takes a little while with this project. There's a lot that needs to be built. All right. So here we have our logo and our free code camp text. So going back to the code, I want to give this a class of landing top v2 header logo. We're going to go ahead and go to our CSS file and we'll add this class here. And we'll say display is going to be flex. And we're going to align the items center. That's going to place them next to each other. And it's going to align them vertically. So once that updates, we'll see the free code camp text here on the right hand side of the image. So that's what's going to happen, hopefully, once we get this build done, and make sure that we also save the file with the classes. And let's also check that we didn't make any mistakes with the class name. So it looks like we did everything correctly. Now I'm quite curious to see what's going wrong here. So I'll open up the console and we'll select the elements. So here we go. So this invalid property. Yeah, and again, here's what I'm talking about. When you're working with other tools, like I've been working with Material UI, and in JavaScript, everything needs to be a string. So for the last 6 months, I've been working with CSS properties as strings. So once you go back to actually working in regular CSS, your mind gets all screwed up. So that should take care of it. And now we have the logo here on the right hand side. And we'll go ahead and we'll say landing span margin left 10 pixels. And we'll give this a color of white. And hopefully that's going to color our logo text white. And we'll say font size 1.5 rem. We'll see how that looks. So while that's updating, I want to go ahead and, all right. So I think that's good enough. I want to go ahead and give it a font weight of bold or maybe medium, we'll see. And then I'm going to go ahead and skip over to Figma, take a look at the other sections here. All right, so we have the search field and we have a couple of buttons. So I think I want the search field to be on the left-hand side here. And then I want the buttons to push over to the right here. So in order to achieve that, we're going to go ahead and look at our markup. So we have the landing, we have this span right here that covers the logo. And then we can make a div right here, top buttons container. So this is gonna contain our buttons, which are going to be links. So ahref donate, and then ahref sign in. And then we want a search field here. So we want input type text. And for now, I'm going to put that inside of this span, and I'm going to give it some margin, and I'm going to change this class to be header left content. And then head back to our CSS file, replace these two with the new class name. And then we'll add a new rule, and we'll say for the input, we also want the font size to be 10 pixels left for now. We're gonna have a border radius of 25 pixels. We're gonna have a padding 0.8 rem, font size 1 rem, and now we need to go ahead and grab this header class, and we're going to say display flex align items center, and justify content is going to be space between. We'll go through all of that. I just want to see it change the way I want to, and looks like I made a typo. Let's go ahead and debug this. So if we go to here, yeah. So I've made a mistake in calling it class when it needs to be class name in React. Okay. So it looks like this class is no longer taking effect. Sending top v2 header left content. And it does include in the span still and the input. So okay, here we go. It's just a little slow. So we still have some work to do, but what we've accomplished now is we're effectively pushing everything in this container off to the right, and we're retaining everything that is in the left content container. So inside of this span, all of this is going to be on the left side, and all of this is going to be on the right side, because we use the justify content of space between on the outermost container. Okay, so we're gonna go here, and we're gonna go ahead and play around a little bit with this styling in the left panel here. So I'm gonna blow it up a little bit. See if that gives us a little bit more to work with. And so we want to go ahead and adjust padding a little bit. 0.6. Maybe 0.2. We're gonna say border none. We're gonna say background color is going to be equal to whatever we have in Figma. That's gonna be this color right here. And I want the RGB A So RGBA 11, 14, 39. So go back here, RG color, sorry, background color, RGBA 11, and I already forgot it. 1439, 11, 14, 39. And 0.48. All right, like that. And let's increase the margin left here a little bit. And we're going to give it a color that's going to be white. Oh, not black, but white. So if we type in it, we're going to give it a font family, Lato. And the padding is going to be a little bit larger on the left and right, and give it a little bit more on the top and bottom. That's too much. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll take these rules and we'll go ahead and copy the information, the last part here, and we'll go back to our code and we'll put it in. And I need the font family Lato. All right, so hit save on that. And then we need to work a little bit on these links as well. So if we remove the left sidebar or the console, you can see that it's starting to look a little bit more like the header we have here. It doesn't necessarily need to look exactly the same. I'm fine with having a little bit more space between here. I just want to get it in the same ballpark. So we're going to go back to here and we'll say maybe give it 20. We're going to go ahead and work on the links next. So we'll go ahead and give the links a class. Landing nav link. And then the bottom link here is going to have a landing nav button. And I'll add the top v2 here. All right, so let's go ahead and work on this first. So we'll grab this class, we'll go back here, we'll do color is going to be white, and text decoration is going to be none, and margin is going to be 1 rem 0. So 1 rem on the, sorry, 0 1 rem. So 0 padding on the top and bottom, and 1 rem on the left and right, and 1 rem equals 16 pixels if that's what the default font size is. So now it's going to look like this. So now what I want to do is I want to add this color here to the button. So I'm going to say landing top v2 nav button. And I'm going to say background color. Going to be the color I just copied. I'm gonna give it a padding of 0.8 rem, border radius of 25 pixels. Okay. And we also need this search icon here, so I'm gonna go ahead and fix that as well. And landing top v2 nav button. Need to go ahead and include top v2 here as well. And we're gonna go ahead and import search icon from the assets folder. And that's going to be search SVG. And I want to go and wrap the input here in a div. And I'm going to put the search icon here with the image loader. Okay, and let's make sure we give this an alt attribute as well. So logo, search icon. And yep, we'll give this a class, landing top v2 search container. And we'll go to our CSS file and we'll start building out the container here. So it's going to be position relative. And then we'll have the SVG, or let's see, I think it's an image probably. Let's go in the browser and make sure we know what it is. And we'll see it's an image, okay. So we want to position it inside of the search field. I'm just going to go ahead and grab the image here. And we're going to say position absolute, left 20, top 5. And we can adjust this. And we'll do width 15 pixels, height 15 pixels, and I think we're going to go a little bit bigger, but 24. Place that here. Go slightly smaller. We'll copy the values here. And we'll paste them in. Now we also need to make sure that we have enough room padding left on our input field, so that when we, because right now we're going to type over the search icon. So we'll go ahead and grab the input type, and then we'll see the padding is going to be, okay, so now we need to make sure we have 1 rem, 1 rem, C. So first we want to have the top, that's 0.4 rem, and then we have the right padding, that's 1 rem, and then the bottom is going to be 1 rem, and then we'll have 2, maybe 2.5 at the end. So let's take a look at that. Do 3 maybe. Now we can type here and everything will be fine. So I'll copy that go back to our editor. I'll find the input field and I'll add the padding values here. So with that done, now I want to take care of the buttons up in the top right corner. I'm going to open up the console and I'll place the console at the bottom. So we get a little bit more room to work with. And I want to make this button a little bit longer. So I'm going to say play block. And I'm going to say width is going to be 100 pixels. Maybe a little bit more. So something like 150 maybe. A little bit more. With something like that. And I'll turn down the padding to 0.6. We'll say text align center. And go ahead and copy this over to our code. And we'll find the button and we'll paste in these values here. And now we need to make sure that we add a flex container to the containing class. So inside of this div, we have the two links. And right now they are placed under each other. And we want them to be side by side and vertically aligned like the rest of this header. So we'll jump back to the code, go to our CSS file. We'll add the buttons container and we'll say display flex, align items center. That's going to place them correctly next to each other again. So it's going to take just a second to update, but once it's done, we should see that buttons will line up. And since they don't, something is wrong. So landing top v2 buttons container. Check it out in the browser. Landing top v2 buttons container. Landing top v2 buttons container. There we go. Sometimes all you need to do is save. So if we head back to Figma, now we have something that's starting to look a little bit like our sketch here. So we're going to stop for now, and then we'll continue on in the next lesson, building out the rest of this page.